All right, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're playing this video. So for today, I'm going to walk you through this first model. This is Extrude Options. So this is your final model. I can show you the front view, isometric view, right view, back to isometric view, and the top view. This is the model of the extrude exercise you will be doing, okay? And if you're wondering, this smoothed out, that's called a foot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hide this model, and I'm going to show you, fun fact, this is how you hide something, the steps. Now I was able to find the book, so now instead of my screenshots, you can see actual books that shows you the first assignment, which is chapter 3, the extrude options, and we're going to jump right into it. Usually, you can read through the book and I'll walk you through step by step. I like jumping down to where we jump right to the plane. It's going to ask you to start on the front plane. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to click sketch. We're going to click front plane, and then we're going to click front view. I'm going to do that one more time for you guys. We're going to click sketch. That's what has this pulled up right here. Remember, if you do not see this, you're not in the sketch. Okay, you need to see a sketch box. I'm going to click sketch. There's my sketch box. I'm going to click front plane, and then I'm going to click front view. Good to go. We're always going to start at our origin. Why? Because it's a center point, and it's not going anywhere. It's a way to anchor down our sketch. Okay. Again, we're still in the sketch. Now I'm going to use line. Okay, I'm going to use line. I'm going to click line right here. Remember, anytime you can't find anything, I can go to my search bar. I can type in line. I'm going to click line onto my origin, and it's going to ask me to draw a line straight up. There's two ways I can do this. I can click once, right? Click once, and then I can move my mouse up, and I can click again, right? And I already have a line. I didn't click it all the way. Or what I can do is, or what I can do is I can click the line and I can click and drag the mouse all the way up. Okay, those are your two options. Okay, I like to click only because it makes it very easy to sketch and keep it moving. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to sketch out this whole piece right here. All right, we're on page 6, and we're just going to try to make it look as close as possible. So I'm going to start here, clicking, click again, click again, whoops, click again. And we're just going to try to recreate this piece. Now, we have this line. Over here, they're not level. We're going to skip some steps and make them level. How we can do that is by the help of OnShape. OnShape will glow yellow when something's lined up because it's trying to help you out, okay? So we're going to line all of these up. The columns are going to be uneven, but the base of those columns, we're going to make them the same. So let's keep clicking through, adding columns. We have 4 columns. Up here we go again. Boom, it snaps at yellow. Click there. We're going to add one more short column here, and we're not matching up here. We're going to go all the way down to finish up the part. It's still going to match up with the origin. You see it glowing yellow. I'm going to click and bring it all the way back to the origin. Now we can see this turns gray. Why does it turn gray? It's a closed sketch. I can press escape and I'm back to my mouse. Okay, it's a closed sketch. So we're good. We skipped a couple sketches, and another way that we can do that is adding a relationship, making sure that these stay perpendicular. You can see the relationships pop up here. It's already perpendicular because we matched them up, and these are all collinear. They're on the same line, so these are all collinear. You see the relationships? We can always add relationships by clicking 2 lines, adding the relationship that we want, adding it, making it perpendicular. You see that it already is, so we're good. I'm going to keep going. At any point, if I'm going too fast, feel free to start it over. It's a great way to hear the directions and just make sure that you didn't miss anything. Same thing, we can have a natural progression of these lines and we can make them into a relationship. However, for this practice, what we're going to do is we're going to, add dimensions. We're going to add dimensions. Now, Different geometric relationships that you see, they can be coincident, where it's a point on a line. There can be a midpoint, where you're actually finding the midpoint of a line. They can be tangent, meaning that right on the cusp of the curve, you see this relationship. They can be concentric, where it's a circle and a circle. Um, it can be collinear, where the lines are on the same plane, or excuse me, the lines are in parallel along the same line of each other. They can be equal, where you're making both of these things equal, or they can be vertical or horizontal, which is just the relationship of those lines. I'm not going to ask you to remember all of those. I think it's good to hear them when we keep going and we start learning them and we do start using these terms. Okay. Now, fun part, we get to add dimensions. Okay. So we're going to start with these dimensions first, understanding that each one of these columns are 0.5. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you a shortcut as well. Let's click dimensions. If you can't find dimensions, click dimensions. I'm going to click this line here, pull it up into the side. You want your dimensions to be on the side so you can see them clearly. This is going to be 0.5. 0.5, press enter. Now the whole thing changed, but that's only because it's thinking that you want it to stay the same, right? But we don't want that. So it's okay. If your whole sketch changes, it's not wrong. It's Onshape thinking that it's helping you. Now, what we can do is we can let Onshape know, that's not what I want, but I do want, oh, excuse me. See, look, I'm still in the dimensions. If this happens to you, press escape. Boom. At any time, if you want to get back to the mouse, I know my mouse is bright red. If I'm on an X and I don't want it anymore, I can just press escape. Now, I'm going to select all the top parts of my columns. How I can shortcut making dimensions is I can make all of these equal. If I click here, right next to the search bar, I can come down to equal. Once I click equal, all of those now have the same dimension. You can see they're equal. I'm going to show you some shortcuts now. I know I had you do it the long way, but now that we're here, you guys can understand how you can use the shortcuts and add relationships. Good. Now, I'm going to go through adding these dimensions. There's no shortcuts for these dimensions, but I'm going to show you a way to help understand better to add these dimensions. If I click dimension, and let's say I was to add the dimension here. We already have 0.5. We're going to add this 2 right here, right? Best way I do that is by clicking this first line, clicking this third line, and coming down to the bottom. Okay, I move it all the way to the left. Once I click, I'm going to type 2. I'm going to press enter. Now, this is getting a little cluttered, right? This has happened to a couple of you. I know that you guys kind of freaked out, deleted the whole thing, started over. It's not an issue. What's happening is when you're adding dimensions, we sketched it a little small, so when we're adding dimensions, now all the lines are in front of each other. This is what I advise. Let's undo this. How we can undo is by Control Z. That's us undoing it. There's also a way that you can undo with these arrows, right? These are the undo arrows. This is me redoing it. This is me undoing it. Okay? Let's not add that dimension there. Okay? It's for a reason. Don't worry. Let's instead add the longest dimension so that we can make sure we understand how big this is. Let's click dimension. Let's click the first line. Let's click the last line. And with that, you're going to add the largest dimension, which is 6.5. We're going to type in 6.5, press enter. Boom. Now you'll see that the sketch is off the screen. It's not an issue. If there's ever a sketch off the screen, you just want to click front. If I click the view, it'll resize and reposition it. You also can zoom out on your trackpad, right? Which you gotta get used to, or you can zoom out if you have a mouse. I advise you to get a mouse. I actually might be able to get some for you guys. Click front view. Now we're changed our view. Let's go ahead and add the other dimensions. We're gonna click the front view, or excuse me, the front line, front view. Click the front line, still doing dimensions. Now we're going to click the third line here, right? 1, 2, 3, excuse me, fourth line here. I'm going to click, and that's going to be 4. That's going to be 4, okay? So if we click here, we're going to add 4. Okay, last but not least, the second line. Click from the front line, click to the second line, and we're going to make that 2. If you look over here, it's 2. Press enter. Good. We're getting somewhere now. We have the size of the width of the columns. We have the distance of the columns. Now we need the heights of the columns. Okay? Now at any point we've added these, we know that we have the correct distance. We do not have this height here, which is 0.496, but we can add that now. If we were to look at, or excuse me, not 0.496, it's 0.5. Now that we have the full dimensions of the heights, this height is 0.5. The tallest column is going to be 4.5. The third column is, or second column is going to be 3.5. The third column is going to be 2.5, and the last column is going to be 1.5. Same business. We're going to click dimensions, right? We can click the first line, and we'll be able to do the first column at the same time. We're going to type in 4.5. Now we go to the second column. We're still on the dimension. You can tell by the X. If this happens, you want to pull your dimensions down. You don't want your dimensions on top of your model or on top of your sketch. You'll get a little confusing. It'll be a lot easier if you pull them all the way down so they're away from your sketch. Second column. We're still in dimensions. I'm going to click the top of the column. I'm going to click the bottom line. Now I'm able to get the height of that second column, which is 3.5. 3.5. If you don't remember, you can always look over here, look at the numbers. The next one is going to be 2.5, which is the third column. I'm still in dimensions. I click the top line. I click the bottom line. And they'll always glow yellow. And I'm going to change that dimension to 2.5. Okay, last but not least, zoom in over here. I'm going to add this dimension, click the top line, click the bottom line, and I'm going to change that one to 1.5. Oh, I lied. One more. It's going to be the actual height of the body, that base part. That's going to be 0.5. Okay, similar to the width here, this is going to be 0.5. Now, because all of these have a relationship, it will all change together. I'm going to click this line, then I'm going to click the bottom line, and now I'm going to drag it down here so you can see it. Then I'm going to make that 0.5. All of them moved. We're in succession. Everything looks good. Okay? Now, if at any point I lost you, you can go back and repeat it. But all of this is right here on page 311. All right, get to the fun stuff. Now, this is walking you through different sketch relationships. At any time, if you hover your mouse, well, first pressing Escape, we're going to get out of dimensions. If I hover my mouse, I can see the different relationships in this. You've already formed a lot of those relationships. You can add these relationships at any time. However, these relationships can conflict with the dimensions if you already have those in place. Okay? Sometimes you might get something turns red. That's when you have too many dimensions. And if that happens, you can just undo. So if I have dimensions here already, and I start adding a dimension next to this, and I try to change that dimension, it all turns red. Why? Because these dimensions are conflicting. If you ever see this, don't freak out. It just means that you have too many dimensions. Some of them aren't making sense. And the best thing you can do is go right to the top left, click that undo button, and remove the dimension. Okay? If you really get lost, take a screenshot and I can help you out. Okay? Now, our next step is to extrude. We're going to extrude this sketch. Remember, 2D to 3-dimensional. We're going to extrude this by 6 inches. Okay? So let's go to extrude. If you see this, you're still in the sketch. You're good. Click extrude. I like changing this to isometric so I can see it on the perspective. This is asking me to extrude blind.